everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video today where we are less than 24 hours away from a brand new episode of Doctor Who airings, episode 4 of series 12. It's Nikola Tesla's Night of Terrors. So a bit of a wordy title, but I also think quite a cool one to set up this episode, which is going to focus on the historical figure of Nikola Tesla, who was involved in the kind of creation of electricity. It's probably a quite a broad way of explaining it. I mean, I don't personally know huge amounts about him as a person. I don't feel like it's somebody I learnt about at school. Maybe I did, and it was a long time ago, but I can't really remember. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting a bit educated almost with this episode about him as a character, but certainly the focus is on him. Then we also have Thomas Edison, who's another person involved in the creation of electricity and the light bulb and all those kind of things. So it's set in the very early 1900s. And obviously there's going to be an alien threat. Yes, we don't quite know, well, I don't think we know a huge amount about this episode full stop, because intriguingly it seems that the BBC have stopped releasing copies of episodes before they air to the press to be able to give previews of, which is what I've kind of worked off the last few years in terms of doing any sort of preview of an episode. I've been able to read a sort of spoiler-free review by somebody who's seen the episode and then work it from there. But it seems like they've stopped doing that completely for Series 12, which in some ways is nice because it means we do very much go into it spoiler-free, but also means it's much harder to kind of have a preview of it and have an idea of what's going to be happening before we actually watch the episode. So clutching at straws a little bit more, looking at cast lists and pictures and things like that to try and work out a bit of what's going on. But there's still some things we can find out. So yes, as I mentioned, it's set in 1903 and focuses on Nikola Tesla over in the United States of America. So it's nice to have a story out in the US and nice to have another historical story in Doctor Who, I think. I feel like most people would say that the historicals were the best part about Series 11. Even if you generally didn't think it was a particularly good series, I feel like at least one of Rosa, Demons of the Punjab and the Witchfinders you may have thought was quite good. Obviously, I thought they were all pretty good. Rosa was probably the peak, and Demons of the Punjab was also very good. The Witchfinder was still okay, but it felt like that was the main thing that they kind of got right, I think, in Series 11, so I'm kind of optimistic to see what they can do with that in Series 12 again, and hopefully kind of continue that very positive trend on the historical stories. In terms of the villain or the aliens of this episode, we believe there's this sort of scorpion-like race that we've seen in the various trailers, who are called the Skithra, and the Queen Skithra is played by Angela Mahindri, who I'm sure most of you will know as Rani from the Sarah Jane Adventures, of course. So we're going to see her in this episode. She's going to be a lot of prosthetics, so we probably won't really recognise her particularly, but that will be her in whatever this Queen Skithra character is, presumably the queen of these scorpion creatures. And yeah, we know nothing about them. They sound like a brand new villain or alien race, which is always quite interesting, exciting to set up a new alien race for the Doctor and Co to have to face off against. I always enjoy seeing that in Doctor Who, so we'll have to see what they're all about. Now, I know some people have been kind of putting forward the idea that based on this picture, that gun that the Doctor is holding is a Silurian gun. Now, I kind of see that, and I do know what people mean. It doesn't look massively different from one. I struggle to see how exactly the Silurians are going to fit into this episode, given that it seems these scorpion creatures, the Skithra, are the main villain of the episode, or at least the aliens of the episode. I'd be very surprised if the Silurians also suddenly turn up and involved. It's not impossible, not out of the question. It could happen, but I think it's more likely to just be a kind of reused, slightly adjusted prop than the Silurians are returning. Apart from that, there ultimately is very little else that we actually know about this episode. It's 50 minutes long, so it's the same as the other episodes of Series 12. I'm clearly doing quite a bad video here if I'm really struggling for things to say, but it's like they just don't tell us anything about these episodes anymore, and so we really end up sort of scrabbling around trying to find out any little tiny piece of information possible. I'll be intrigued to see if this episode has any connection to the arc of the series at all. I think it's unlikely given that it's a historical story, unless they tack a scene on at the end that's to do with a timeless child or something to do with Gallifrey, then I struggle to see that it's going to be brought up in this particular episode, but that's okay. I think what will be more interesting to look out for is the kind of the characterisation of the Doctor, because we saw in Orphan 55, as much as there were many bad things about that episode, one of the more interesting things I think was the characterisation of the Doctor herself, and seeing her being a little bit of a harsher, darker side to her, seeing sort of more likely she was going to snap at people and get angry about things. I think that's probably a sort of symptomatic from what's happened with Gallifrey, and she's kind of still thinking about that and stewing on that, so I'll be intrigued to see if that plays out any further in this episode, or if they sort of rein in her character a little bit, shall we say. This story is written by a new writer to Doctor Who, a writer called Nina Metavia, I think her surname is pronounced. And it's always nice to see a female writer for Doctor Who, given that we have such a lack of that, and actually having a female director as well for this story I think is really good to see sort of the positive the opportunity to give new people the chance to write for the show, which Chris has really given, and encouraging sort of women to get more involved in the writing and directing and the production of the programme, because it's been so male dominated, even in throughout New Who as well. So I'm quite pleased to see that, and it's always interesting to see a new writer's take on Doctor Who. Hopefully it's a good one. Of course, there's always that, are they going to do a good job if it's the first story and we don't know anything to base it on? But then even we've seen good writers who have done good past episodes to write a bad second episode at time. So yes, overall this is an episode I'm very much looking forward to. I'm sorry I can't really give you guys much more information about what to expect from it because we simply don't know it. But it certainly looks like it's going to have some, well, it's got these alien scorpion creatures and it might have some sort of other alien type creature in there as well. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out about that. Seeing the fan in a period costume as well is always nice to see. Although it looks like the Doctor, intriguingly, is still sticking with the normal outfit rather than going full on period costume like the rest of them. So that'd be quite nice to see that contrast between them there, which of course they haven't really, at least the fans haven't really got into that as much in the previous historicals in terms of dressing up in period costumes. That's quite nice to see. But yeah, apart from that, we don't really know much else, so I won't waffle on any further than that. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this quick little video and found out something new, maybe, from this video. And I'm excited to see Nikola Tesla's Night of Terrors tomorrow. But apart from that, do let me know in the comments below what you think is going to happen. What are your predictions and theories about this episode? But other than that, as always, hit the like button, the subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Goodbye.